It's always such an interesting time in America. We've got all-time highs in the stock market, and we've got all-time highs with people's mental states in this country. Really, it should be all-time lows, but I believe the expression is to have a high mental state. I remember that from GTA 5. You have a high mental state, you got maniacs going on the loose. So we have another assassination attempt. To be fair, I don't know who this guy was trying to kill. The alleged suspect's name is whatever his name is, Allen or something. I don't know what his name is. Cole Allen, I think, is the alleged suspect's name. Apparently, he's some nerd from California with a degree. Thinks he's really special. Some kind of liberal. Who knows what he is? Apparently, he's some kind of scientist, but his scientific method was not very good on this evening. He should have never been. Apparently, he just bum rushed the place he was seen in videos, or someone was seen in videos running around the place. Fucking crazy scene, shots being fired everywhere. Honestly, glad that no one's seriously hurt, and even this guy's still alive. Find out what kind of drugs he was on and what he was really trying to do. But we're going to talk about some of the moronic responses to this, and on a serious note, the mental states in this country are at all-time highs or all-time lows, depending on how you look at it. People need to get off the internet. People cannot handle the internet. Somebody like me that was raised on the internet, I can handle the internet. There's some things in life you can't take too seriously, and as I said in a couple videos ago, politics, you can't take it too seriously. People their brains are being rotted. People's brains are turning to mush. But I think a lot of people are just deficient without the internet. A lot of people are just deficient as human beings. You cannot like someone, you can disagree with somebody, but it's a little bit schizophrenic when you're disagreeing with someone you've never met and you're just yelling at the TV all the time. And you got these it doesn't help. You have these terrible morons that get to speak up on the podcast and the streamers, and they don't produce anything of value. They don't produce anything of intelligence. They don't produce anything of goodwill or inspiration. There's just constantly there's constant negativity with these people, and they're trying to rally like the worst, maybe not the worst people, but they're helping to create these ridiculous mental states. They're constantly brainwashing people and bombarding them with stupid propaganda. And these are the type of people. They don't do their own research. They don't know how to think for themselves. They just believe everything they hear. But the lack of logic with particularly left wing people. Okay, so whenever you start to point the finger, it's not about pointing the finger at certain people, but you have to critique the mindset. You have to critique this hive mind. And whenever you say, oh, left-wing people are doing this, it becomes an attack back at right-wing people, as if you can't just be an individual. I'm talking about from the perspective of just, a normal person here. Left-wing ideology, you cannot defend it, all right? They've got men dressing up as women. And a couple administrations ago, a couple years ago, you couldn't talk about that at all, or you'd get censored. But I'm not going to say too much more about that. You got men dressing up as women and women dressing up as men. And if you don't see what's wrong with that, then you're part of the problem. And these same people, the tangentially related mindsets are, let's go and do this to this person that we don't like. And let's try to do that to a politician and see if we can get away with it. And then you don't, you die, or you spend the rest of your life. Hopefully this guy spends some time in a mental institution, a very long time. But you have the left-wing logic is, well, we hate Trump and we want the worst things to happen to him, which is terrible. You should never wish that on your president, no matter who the president is. As I think Warren Buffett, or I think it was Charlie Munger who said, and I believe it too, one day you're going to wish that you had the Trumps and even the Joe Bidens and even the Barack Obamas and even the George Bushes. You're going to have a president one day that's so terrible. You're going to have somebody in charge that's so terrible, you're going to wish you had Trump back. So the thing with politics, it's not a popularity contest, and things can always get significantly worse. And you give too much credit to these people. These are just people. They're on the political, as I said, they're on the political theater stage. And you can hear the rain here. Hopefully that subsides. Uh, these people, you can't take them too seriously. And you give them too much credit. So you have people that they will say, well, bad things need to happen to Trump, which is terrible. And then when some absolute schizomaniac tries to do that to our president, you have people cheering it on. But then you have, at the same time, these people are saying, oh, he survived or nothing happened to him, so it must be staged. Oh, Trump, somebody actually did listen to the lunatics that said, yeah, we need to go and attack our enemies and have some kind of an upheaval that never comes. But when someone actually tries to do that, and there are actually people that get hurt in the crossfire, they say, oh, the event is staged. Now, this is the type of shit that, we used to lobotomize people for. We used to give lobotomies to these types of people. They were clearly unhinged, and they're so obsessive with falsehoods. They have these falsehoods in their head. They're so obsessive with this mythology that they've made up in their minds. These are people that don't understand history. They may think they understand history. They don't have an adequate understanding of history. They don't understand much about reality. They live in a completely separate reality. They're living in a fucking fantasy land. And I just don't understand how people have so much free time to consume this garbage. And the takeaway that they have is that they should, this is the world they want to live in, where only bad things happen. There's nothing good happening in the world. Eat the rich, fucking anybody we disagree with, they will eventually turn around and eat their own people. The people that they chose to support because they thought they were going to get this, that, and the other. And then when they find out they were being played, once they realize, they're never going to realize that they're being lied to from every side and angle. They're never going to stop and mature and realize, okay, let's just sit back and not take anything too seriously in life. Never too seriously where we want to, we're all on this planet suffering together. But there's no reason to try and go out of your way and make someone's suffering worse. I'm not ever trying to do that to somebody. So you take things too seriously to an extreme, and then you're cheering for people to go out and start committing horrible crimes, which cannot be defended under any circumstances. What we need to have is better leadership. Yes, we need to have better leadership. There are some despicable people with some despicable mindsets, but the solution is not to send violence their way or send threats their way. If you've got a fucking idiot with a microphone, you need to turn his microphone off. And I'm not saying censorship because I don't believe in censorship, but the way you turn someone's microphone off is you stop giving them listeners. Okay, you got to stop taking these fucking idiots seriously. We need better commentary from better commentators, and then that's in a free marketplace. Okay, the better product wins. You need to have better marketing. We need to have better marketing for good ideas from good people, and we got to stop giving listeners, and there's nothing you can do directly, but people need to fucking have an alternative that they can listen to that actually makes some sense. We need people that actually have integrity, that say things the right way and do things the right way. You're listening to these fucking morons on the left, and of course there's morons that call themselves conservatives. There's morons on the right too. But you got to have someone that calls it down the middle. You got to be able to call a spade a fucking spade. But anyway, the logic of these people, you got assassins, and they're thankfully very inept people. I don't want to see any professional assassins. The fucking lack of security. I think they had reasonably good response time in this situation, but this guy should have never been able to get close. He should have. I don't know how he did it. But he's a fucking moron, thankfully, at the end. Um, and they need to open the government. There's some things that do need to be funded. All right, I don't know how they keep shutting down the FAA, and they keep trying to stall. They keep trying to damage the commercial flight industry. They're not paying. I think this is twice in the last 6 months. I think recently, a couple weeks ago or a month ago, I think they got the funding open for the airlines again. But when I was trying to get on the plane and I had my shit booked well in advance, I was like, are we actually going to get canceled because these fucking idiots can't fund the parts of the government that they at least need to fund? Stop funding all the welfare programs that aren't helping anybody long term. Stop funding the fraud. Stop funding the bullshit. But do fund the federal workers that are essential workers. You need to have air traffic control. You need to have the Secret Service, okay? You know, we need to have police officers. We need to have the people in society that aren't just sitting on their asses and talking shit and wishing harm on other people. We need to have people that are actually going out there and doing good things. People that are cutting through the noise. They're not listening to the fucking noise, like I said. Don't listen to the noise, listen to the numbers. If you're sitting here getting caught up in some make-believe drama about politicians of all things, you got to get yourself checked in. All right? You got to touch some grass like I'm doing right now. You got to touch some grass and get your head out of your ass. But we have to have better commentary. We got to have better rhetoric because people don't think for themselves anymore. You know, I can listen to all kinds of nonsense from all sides and angles. But I'm able to sit here and devise my own thoughts about the situation, no matter what it is. And you have to be an individual. You have to master the secular lifestyle from time to time. If you have to stay away from people and stay away from the bullshit, then that's what you have to do. If you have to be, you just have to be an individual. You got to have your own individuality. And people don't have that. They're searching for these role models in the worst places. And these people almost always have an agenda. They're not trying to give you what they really believe. They're not trying to give you the truth. That's another thing I want to talk about. This could be a whole separate video. But I'm going to end it with this. You got a lot, it's been said before, you got a lot of fucking people with a lot of nerve to say, well, if you're a grown man or woman, if you're an adult, you must have an opinion on politics. And this is completely ass backwards. Yes, you should have awareness. And I believe people should have strong opinions. I believe a strong opinion is normally better than no opinion at all. But that doesn't mean you have an extreme opinion. And it doesn't mean, with relation to politics, you do not have to be political. You can be completely, decidedly apolitical for your entire lifetime. You're going to live a better life that way. You stay away from religion and you stay away from politics, and you're good. There's just a way, if you could stay away from taxes and stay away from death, that you're good, right? And you do that as long as you can. This argument that you have to be political is nonsense. It's always the stupidest and most uneducated people that are saying that shit, and they don't actually want you to be political. It's like when they say, when you have these celebrities that encourage you to go out and vote, they don't actually want you to vote. They just want you to parrot the opinion that they have back to them. They don't actually want you to vote for the opposition. They're not encouraging actual democracy. They're trying to persuade you to listen to them and think about how they would vote, and then they want you to go and vote accordingly to what they want. So the people saying you must have an opinion on politics, and then they want to give the apolitical streamers, the people that just want to talk about video games, that just want to play video games, you have to have an opinion on everything. No, you don't. You're not in the political realm. You're not trying to make yourself out to be some kind of a spiritual leader or what have you, some mythical figure. You're just talking about video games. Not everybody needs to have an opinion on politics, because most of the opinions on politics are bullshit. Because people don't actually pay attention to what's really going on. They just live in echo chambers. So, as is why I said that don't take politics too seriously. It's all theater. You're getting your panties in a twist over nothing. You're not going to change anything directly, and you could potentially make things extremely way worse. You say, well, we shouldn't have Trump as president. Well, again, wait until we get the next president that's even worse than Trump. Then you're going to be crying, oh shit, Trump, I wish I could vote for Trump now. It always happens. So it's not the individual necessarily. You give too much credit to these individual leaders. Okay, there's other things that we need to look at. We need to look at Congress. The same people that say, "Oh, I'm glad no one was hurt." Why aren't you funding the Secret Service, for example? Why are you shutting down the government at an important time, which is always, and you're not funding federal aviation, and you want to point your finger like a toddler at the other politicians over here that at least want to fund that part of the government. You don't want to have you want to have funding for illegal immigrants, but you don't want to fund your American citizens, your federal workers. They're trying to keep everybody safe. Okay, so that's my point is that you have idiots on all sides. It isn't just one person. The entire system is corrupt and incompetent. And I'll take a little bit of corruption over incompetence any day. But when you've got both of them, the incompetence is the one that's the loudest and the most dangerous. There's nothing worse than stupidity. You can have Nancy Pelosi allegedly making a lot of money from insider trading. I'll take that any day over somebody that's trying to fuck up the money altogether. Okay, somebody like Bernie Sanders, that if he was serious and he actually was able to implement his policies, he would destroy the country faster than any nuclear weapons would. So you've got idiots on all sides, and you're giving too much credit to whoever the president is at the time. Yes, the person in charge, they usually get the lion's share of the credit and lion's share of the blame. We have to blame a lot of people that are uneducated. We need to blame every single person needs to do the best they can in life and stop worrying about what the people at the top are doing. But eventually we do need to get some better leaders that actually follow the Constitution and stop trying to change the laws and contort things in their favor. For example, I read that they're going to start putting AI in cars, starting with every new model car from 2027 onwards. I'm all for self-driving and AI, but not for that kind of surveillance. Another bullshit policy, if it's to be believed. So you do not need to have, not everybody needs to have an opinion on every subject, because the truth is most people are not educated on every subject, and the people that think they are usually aren't either, because they're usually coming from a place of arrogance and not humility. Because I would never say you must have an opinion on politics. I would say there are certain things that you must denounce if you're a reasonable person, like the men dressing up as women. That's not something you get to have an opinion on, because if you truly understand the ins and outs of that situation, you realize it's nothing but a harmful policy. It's nothing but a harmful mindset, and people will lose their fucking minds over that. But tough shit. This is reality, not fantasy. And in the real world, these kinds of things get people hurt. It's not something to support. It's not something to believe in. You got to stay grounded in reality. But I would never say, oh, you must have an opinion on politics. Because you're going to have someone that completely disagrees with you, and then what? You're going to want to revoke their license to have an opinion. So actually being apolitical, like I said, is the best thing for the average person that can't handle their mental state, can't handle politics and all the bullshit. Follow the money and stop following politics, all right? You need to follow the money, and you need to cut out the noise and follow the numbers. So is it real or is it staged? It's clearly a serious fucking event. It's clearly not staged. If you fucking believe in this will send people into a fucking frenzy, but if you really believe it's staged, then you're fucking retarded. What do you need to believe it's real? Is fucking JFK, was that staged? Was Abraham Lincoln's assassination staged? I think every president probably has an attempt on their life, and it's fucking ridiculous. But thank God, as a country, okay, even though God's not real either, but, the sentiment's still there. Thank God that we don't have, another president that we have to bury today, or somebody else. I'm very thankful that even the shooter is unharmed, even though he's a basket case and he needs to be put away. Hopefully we get some justice there too. So you got to stop trying to fucking kill people. It's not solving anything. You know, they tried to kill, they did unfortunately kill the United Healthcare CEO. That was a horrible situation. And stupid motherfuckers think that that was a good thing. And what did that change? You're trying to take out the cogs in the machine instead of trying to fix the machine. I always say, you know, if you really want to change the government, then you need to cut the funding from the government. But no one is actually serious about protesting taxes. They want to protest no kings and all that kind of fucking bullshit. Nobody wants to actually protest the heart of the issue. We're giving money to corrupt and incompetent individuals that actually hate us in a lot of cases. And that kind of rhetoric obviously makes it sound like it's some kind of conspiracy against us, but it's right in front of your face. At least what I'm telling you is verifiable. But that doesn't mean that the way you go about it is trying to take these people out. You really do, I believe, engage in democracy from the perspective of you stop voting for these motherfuckers. Bernie Sanders shouldn't have never been a politician with his policies, all right? He's the ultimate clown, for example. But I don't have anything against him as a person. I just want these people, they need to be out of the political spotlight. But the way you do that, you need to vote them out of power. And the way you do that is you get some better representatives. We need better candidates stepping up. Okay? And if people want to actually come together for a good cause, then you need to come together and stop paying taxes. Then you'll stop funding the corruption and the incompetence. But until people want to get together for something real and something pragmatic and something really productive, we're going to keep having fucking chaos from a small segment of the population. That's a growing segment. There's a lot of people that are mentally ill. The people that are actually deranged enough to go and do something fucking stupid like running their car into using their car as a battering ram at the fucking Capitol Hill blockade a few years ago, trying to bum rush the Secret Service to do God knows what at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. You know, these people are fucking retarded, and we need better mental health in this country. People just need to stay off social media if they can't handle it. So what I'm telling you is, you need to think for yourself and get the fuck out of the frenzy and just try to make some money. The best you can do is try to make some money, lay low, and try to encourage people around you in your life to do better. But if you can't do that, then you just need to lay low, stay quiet, and try to make some money. It's the best that you can do. But the thing is, for me, I can't just sit quiet and see the bullshit going on. I have to say something about it. But hopefully, people will actually listen to reason. Hopefully, we can be reasonable, because that's the only thing that's stopping America, is that we're not reasonable people. We've got all of the fucking tools for the most part. And if we haven't had the tools, we had them in the past. If we don't have them now, we can get them again. But we have to work together, and we have to be the United States of America. And that's what I truly believe. And I don't know I'm not going to use the expression, what it kills somebody, but how difficult is it to say, let's be united? If you had people that came out and say, let's just be the United States of America again and work together and fuck the bullshit. I actually think the Trump speech was great last night. If you listened to his speech that he gave after, he said people of all sides and angles, more or less, to paraphrase, need to come together through peace. And I think that when you see Trump dropping the act, I think he was reading maybe from a prepared script, but I think he was very honest in that moment. And it's not fun to see anybody close to you actually in harm's way. So until people realize that, until people have that mentality, then we're not going to be as productive as we need to be. But that's all. We need to be the United States of America again.